Black Rose, Part 6. We start this off where Ruby is on a airship, a plane pretty much. One of those flying vehicles in Ruby, heading towards Beacon. As we get a flashback of where she is at the tree line, talking with some of the Grimwolves. Listen, I plan to go aboard and sneak into Beacon. I need you to inform Mother and the others of what I plan to do. And I'll say there was like 3 Grimwolves with Shadow right next to her. Do I make myself clear? As she looks into one of the Grimwolves' blue eyes, as it nods in response. As she pats its head. Good. Now go, as she points as they all 3 run off in unison further into the forest. As she puts her hood back up and walks back into the town and starts heading to the airship area where they send a plane to Beacon because they're accepting people to Beacon because of the festival. So we go to Ruby, who had paid the fee and is aboard the ship. Flashback ends. Shadow is in her, shadow. As she looks out the airship window, looking around, as they're flying above trees, buildings, river, the stuff you would see while flying by, heading towards Beacon. Just wait, Beacon. Soon you shall fall. And if Salem gets in my way, I'll have to deal with her too. As she starts hearing gossip from other people on board, can't you hear there's going to be a lot of hunters and huntresses in training at the festival this year? Yes, and I've heard there's a lot of skilled fighters. As Ruby's listening into this, skilled fighters. I must get information. And the best way to do that is get from the central computer. The same place where Cinder got information. As they arrive at Beacon, as they're being welcomed, as she hops off the airship with the rest of the people, as then they see the fight of Crow and Winter, if I remember. As Ruby's watching this, that's the same hunter I saw trying to track me down. I may have to be a bit careful. After the fight's broken up, Crow looks back at the direction where Ruby was standing and saw a black cloak person. As he closes his eyes and opens it, she's gone. As we see Ruby that is behind a pillar, that was close. I may have hidden my senses, but he still detected me. As then the Paw of Shadow comes out. No, you're no match for that hunter. Even with your ability. Very well. Now what to do? It's gonna be hard getting around Beacon with so many eyes. As then he hears a few students talking, saying there's gonna be a party. A party? That would be the perfect time to take as a distraction. They host this, as they're hosting this party, Ruby is in the civilian dorms where civilians would come and stay to watch the festival and all that. As she sneaks out and sees all the students heading to this party of a lot of different schools. As she makes her way to the main area, as she's already noticed that the guards are knocked out, someone is beating me to it. As Shadow pops out of her shadow. Find whoever did it. As Shadow starts to move through the building, as she goes up to the top floor. And as she was heading to go into the building, she noticed guards coming. I guess I'll have to find a different place to gather intel. As she simply walks into an alleyway nearby, as she sees Cinder leaves the building. So you're the person that got there first. As she prepares her weapon and aims it. As then she hears a howl of Shadow You got lucky. As she puts her weapon into her regular form, puts it on her back. As she goes and walks in. As she walks nearby the building, at the entrance, Shadow comes out and falls from a higher floor and just dives into her shadow. As they simply walk away. Great, now how am I going to get that information? I guess I'm going to have to infiltrate Beacon while everyone's busy at the festival. Now, they go back to, her dorm area and she sleeps for the time being. But as she's sleeping, we see that the wound that was just covering basically the shot that had expanded to about half of her stomach now. As she wakes up, as she has a headache for some reason. She gets a vision of a person in a white cloak. Who was that? As she shakes her head, waking up, as Shadow comes out of her shadow and just sits. What is it, brother? As then he puts a claw to Ruby's forehead. As apparently Shadow had been doing some observing around Beacon without being discovered. The weak spot entrances. So that's what you wanted to tell me about. Very well. As she gets up. As she opens the window and looks. And sees the forest area outside Beacon. I may have to inform the others to just come closer a bit. But that may alert security, so I better not. As she closes her window, a Shadow hops in. As they go to, all the stands. As they go to the stands, they see John, they see Weiss, they see Blake, and they see Yang. All chilling and having fun. As Ruby just remembers them. I better keep an eye on them. As she keeps walking around, observing on what people think around the area, gain an idea of where everything is going to be set up at. As then she starts to sit in on the conversation between Weiss, Blake, and Yang. Their strategy for the festival. So, I can't wait to just fight and just beat people up in the festival, Yang says. Well, we're gonna have to be strategic after all. We're gonna be facing people with a lot of different semblances and abilities. You're right, Blake says that. But we also have to take into account for our weaknesses as well. As she looks at John. Okay, maybe I'm a bit weak, but at least I can do some things. Like I learned how to use aura. As Ruby was listening to this, semblances and aura? Bear in mind, she's lived with the Grimm. She does not know technically aura, but she uses aura without knowing it. And as for her semblance, she just thought that was just a regular thing she was capable of. As she listens in, well, at least I'm getting notes of strategies. As she noticed, someone go into the girls' changing room, around the changing area to go do something. As she walks over, as it was a student of Beacon, as she looks around before grabbing the clothes and leaving. As she goes back to her dorm area, secretly make sure no one saw that she stole the items. As she checks the items out to make sure it's the right size for her, and just happened by her luck, it's her size. Oh, well, now I found an easier way. As she changes into Beacon's outfit. How do I look? As Shadow came out of her shower after sleeping. And basically just nods up and down saying, looks good on Ruby. Well, thank you, as she pats Shadow, the black rim, before walking out of the room. Now to infiltrate Beacon. As she straightens up her uniform before leaving the dorm area. And she heads into basically just a plain area into the Beacon and starts wandering around. As she goes to their engineering bay, where they have a lot of machines and all that. I could do something to make a ruckus here while I gather information. As she's thinking it, then she sees someone come in. As she simply just turns around, just like she's paying attention to something. As the two people that walked in are just chit-chatting. Remember, we gotta get things set up for the festival. We gotta make sure the security is tight. As Ruby listens in. Yeah. No faltering systems, no nothing. As they don't notice Ruby, as she's practically hiding in plain sight. As these two guys happen to be security monitoring the systems. So they gotta make sure everything goes well. Note, I'll send Shadow to destroy this room later. As she leaves the room without the guards noticing, really. And she makes her way towards, well, the teacher's lounge. Trying to gather as much information as possible here. As she's approaching it, she feels a familiar sense. The same hunter. As she quickly turns the corner, as Crow had just happened to walk out of an elevator of some sort with Winter. So where were you for these past few months? I was on a job. Yeah, but when you came back, you left immediately. Yeah, 'cause I had another job. What, flirting with girls? No. Well, sort of. As they're walking down the hall, is Ruby's listening. Both of them are extremely powerful. I could possibly take one of them on, but the other one would definitely cause me trouble. There's no way I'd win at 2v1. As she decides to turn the corner, again, Crow notices a black cloak, but this time decides to follow it. As Winter's confused, what are you doing? Checking something out. As he turns the corner and sees, well, the black cloak person turned another corner as he starts to chase. As he turns the corner and it's a dead end. As Winter catches up, what were you doing? As Crow's looking around. I've been seeing someone lately. What, a girl? No. Someone around Beacon that shouldn't be around Beacon. So what? It could just be, someone from the other schools. You're possibly right. As he turns around and walks away, as we see, well, Ruby in the vent. That was close. As she moves the vent cover and hops down, and makes it towards that elevator to Osmond's office. As she uses it to go up. As she decides to hide at the top of, the hatch of the elevator as it opens. As Ozpin is in his office. Hello? Anyone there? As he decides to walk towards the elevator. Looks around, doesn't see anyone. Maybe Crow sent it back up. That's probably what he did. As he grabs some files before using the elevator. Now, when he was walking back to his desk to grab the files to go down the elevator, Ruby took this chance to, well, exit the elevator and sneakily around, hiding her presence. As Osmond took the elevator down, Ruby goes to his personal computer and starts trying to get into it. Oh, great. As she's not the best with electronics, how am I going to get into this? She starts to think there has to be a password about something. As then, Shadow, drags out an item from the Ruby Shadow. What's this? As it happens to be a USB. Where did you get this? As Shadow does not respond, he just stays in Ruby Shadow. As she connects it to Ozpin's computer, and she manages to get the schedule for the, festival. The plans and all that. Noted. Unexpectedly, she downloaded a file that she wasn't expecting. That caught her interest. Silver Eyes. As she decides to download it. As then she hears the elevator coming back up. As she quickly takes the USB after everything was done. And, sneakily gets into the air vent and, escapes. After she gets down the elevator by, getting on top of the elevator entrance. Basically above the elevator panel. She's laying down there as the elevator goes down. And once whoever's in the elevator exits, she hops down and exits. Now, Ruby goes back to her, dorm area. As she plugs it into the computer, as Shadow decides to see what she's looking at. She pops out. She's not looking at the schedule for this festival. She's looking at the file about Silver Eyes. Silver Eyes have immense power and can eliminate Grimm and people alike using their fierce silver eyes. Very strong ability. Even Salem fears them. Salem. Bear Mask Grimm person was telling me about that. As then we go to Beargrass Grimm, who sees, Achoo! Someone talking about me. As we see, he's in a dust shop. Someone must be talking about me. As he decides to buy some dust. As we go back to Ruby. We then start researching on stuff. As then a name pops up in a photo. Summer. A Silver Eyes person. As she decides to click on the image. As she gets a sense of a familiar sense about this person. Who is this? As she wants to click more, but unfortunately, that's where the information ends. He must have had all the other information on a different drive. It sucked. But at least I got the main information I was looking for, which was the schedule for the festival. Now that's the end of part 6. Hopefully you all enjoyed. Remember to like and subscribe for more. And the next one is going to be when they attack Beacon. So hopefully you all enjoyed. Remember to leave a like and subscribe for more.